all they're like international students. So like you just take $8 million.
All right, we're gonna get started here, guys. This is the last section of this chapter here, which means test next week. Okay. So hopefully we will be able to get through. We should be able to get through all the notes today. If they were to, stop your yapping back there. All right. We should be able to get through our notes, which means Monday would be a work day. And then we'll probably do a couple of days of review just because we're running out of time for the semester, basically. Okay. But your test will be next week, Friday. That's the plan for right now. And then we'll be getting ready for your semester test. All right. The last section that we're going to talk about goes over distance and midpoint. And then we'll talk a little bit about circles. So we're going to start by talking about distance first. Distance is usually when you're on a coordinate plane and you're trying to figure out how far apart 2 points are. And there's a formula that we use for this. Okay, this is what our formula looks like. It's a really big square root sign. And in here, you're going to take your x coordinates and subtract those. And you're going to then square that result. And then you're going to add on the exact same thing, but with your y's. It's a big formula, and it looks like a lot, but you're just looking at 2 coordinates, and you're plugging in the x's and the y's respectively, and then you're just simplifying as much as you can. You're probably going to get decimals here because we're talking about distance between 2 points on a coordinate plane. It's not always going to be perfectly spaced apart from each other because these points could be anywhere on the graph. So let's do an example. These are your 2 points, 2, -8, and 5, 1. So what are you going to put in for your x's? What numbers are your 5 and 2? Now, it doesn't matter if you do 2 minus 5 or if you do 5 minus 2. You can go either way. But whatever way you decide to do it first, you have to make sure that you stay consistent with the y's as well. So if I do 2 minus 5, I have to start with the -8 and then subtract the 1. But you can switch that around. Okay, distance can't be negative ever. So when you're doing this formula and you have that squared, you should never be dealing with a negative number underneath the square root sign. Because if you square something, it's always going to be positive. All right, so what's 2 minus 5? And then what's a -3 squared? 9. So that first quantity becomes just a 9. What's -8 minus 1? And if you square that? 81. So we have 9 plus 81. Notice how both of those numbers ended up positive because I said that they should. So then this becomes the square root of 90, and then you need a calculator to do the rest. It's going to be between 9 and 10. 3 squared of 10. If you want the decimal, just hit that double arrow button above your enter sign. And that would give you, what'd you say, Cooper? 9.5. If you want to give me the square root form, so if you want to say 3 radical 10, I'm fine with that. That's the exact answer. The 9.5 would be a rough estimate because we are rounding the decimal. Okay, so that's distance. Now, we also can find midpoint. Do you guys remember what midpoint means? The middle. Yeah, it's halfway. So we also have a formula for midpoint. Now, because it's called midpoint, notice how I have that underlined here, point. Because when we're doing midpoint formula, we're finding another coordinate. Because if I have a graph and I have 2 points, there would be another point that's in between them. So you're looking for another XY coordinate here. To do this, you're basically finding the average of your X coordinates because you're going to add them and divide by 2. And then there's a comma to separate. You're going to do the same thing for your Y coordinates. Okay, so we're going to add the X's, divide by 2, add the Y's, divide by 2, but you're going to keep them 2 separate numbers because we are talking about a coordinate here. All right, so let's do this example. I have the points 2, -8, and 5, 1, the same 2 points that we were dealing with up above, but now I'm working with midpoint. So my X's are still that 2 and 5. So I'm going to add those and divide by 2. And then negative 8 plus 1 are my y's, and then I divide by 2. What is my point going to be here? You're going to maybe get decimals, and that's okay. What's 7 divided by 2?
3.5.
And then negative 7 divided by 2? Negative 3.5. I also would have been okay if you had left it like this, 7 over 2, negative 7 over 2. If you leave it as those fractions, it's also good because that means the same thing. Okay. Any questions about distance or midpoint? Okay, now we're going to talk about circles. So the general or standard form of a circle looks like this. So x minus h quantity squared plus y minus k quantity squared equals r squared. The x and the y are not ever going to be filled in on your formula because those represent other points that could be on your circle. The h and the k comes from the center of the circle, and r is going to be your radius. Now you want to be careful when you're trying to like write the equation or even pull information from the equation. The center is always, I'm going to write opposite here. Because when you are plugging in the numbers, it's already built in with a minus sign. Like your formula already has a minus sign to begin with. If you start putting in negative numbers, it's going to cause that sign to switch to a positive. And that same idea will have to come in when you're thinking about pulling the center or pulling the radius from an equation. You'll have to think about opposite sign, okay? So let's do an example here. I have my center, 5, 3, so this is your HK. And my radius is 6, so this is your R. So we're just going to pop it into this equation up here. Like I said, you're not going to put anything in for x. So it's going to be x minus h. What did we say h was? 5. And then that's all squared. Plus y minus what? Negative 3 squared. And then what's our radius? 6 squared. So I heard a couple of you say plus because you know that that's going to automatically switch signs. And then what's 6 squared? 36. So we do want to see all those pieces being simplified, and you want to square that radius so that we've got it in that standard form. Yep, that's where I want you to leave it. Okay, if we go to the next page, this time they're giving us an equation and they want you guys to pull the center and pull the radius. So what would be your center? What numbers did they plug into the formula? Careful.
-1 and +9.
Always opposite, okay? And then what would be your radius? 4, not 16. Because what do you have to do to 16? You have to square root it? Yeah. So the square root of 16 is 4. Good. Okay, now sometimes, unfortunately, they will not give you the equation of a circle already in its standard form. They might have some extra things in there, and so we need to use our completing the square process to help us do this. So I'm going to show you what this looks like. You're going to have an x squared and a y squared, but then there's also going to be a regular x and a regular y. We'll have to use those pieces together to help us do our completing the square process. It's been a little while since we've completed the square, so I'm going to go through how this works again. But my example here starts out like this. X squared plus y squared plus 6x minus y minus 2 equals 0. Okay, if I just kind of come up here and look at my steps, step 1 says to move the constant, which would be, in this case, the negative 2, we have to move that to the other side of the equation. So you can kind of see how they added it over. So now instead of it saying equals 0 down here, it says equals 2 because you have to move that constant over to the right side. Then they also rewrote it a little bit because we want to group our x and our y terms together. So they put the x squared with the 6x, and they put the y squared with the minus y. And that's what's down here in those parentheses. But then you can also start to see there's these blanks that were added in because this is when we have to complete our square. Does anyone remember how to complete the square? So,
I'm just
Like, I
here.
know you gotta put a number there.
yeah, you do have to fill in the blanks, yes. What? It has something to do with the middle number. That's 6. We have to take half of 6. Not times by 2, but square it. Square it. So what's 6 divided by 2? 3, and 3 squared is 9. So 9 is going to go in this blank and over on the right side. See how there's another set of blanks over there? Okay. On the y's, what number is in front of the y? -1. So what's -1 divided by 2? 0.5. And then if we square 0.5, 0.25. Close. 0.25. Okay, so now to write the equation, if you think back to when we did our completing the square. Yes, I did that. Okay, what I'm going to do now is simplify this. So I'm going to start with this x squared plus 6x plus 9 piece first. You're going to put an x in one set and you're going to put a y in the other set. And then the number comes from whatever we had as half of the b. So before we squared it. So this first one would be a 3. And this one would be -0.5. Because -1 divided by 2 got us at -0.5. So that goes in with those x and y's. And then over here, we have to just add. What's 2 plus 9 plus 0.25? Good. So there's your equation. Now, if they asked you for the center and the radius, what would you guys say is your center?
I'm just kidding. -3 and +0.5.
And what would be the radius about?
I don't want to do math. I don't want to get my calculator.
It's going to have to be a decimal.
I'm thinking.
Feeling lazy today?
3 point.
All right, you got it.
3.4. Good. Okay. Now, do you guys remember how to graph a circle?
Radius is 3.5.
Where do you think you should start?
0, 0.
The center. You should start at the center. So let's graph that point, -3.5. So just estimate where you think that is. Okay? And then the radius is going to go in all directions from that center. So I always go up, down, left, right to kind of give me some parameters for my circle. Now, again, you're going to have to estimate because it's 3.4. So I'm going to go up 3 and then a little more. And same, from the center, I'm going to go down 3 and a little more.
Put your dang glasses on. I don't want to hear you complaining. You took them off yourself.
You guys are very sassy today. Holy cow. Oh, I did not go far enough on this one. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, how to write a circle. I remember how to write. Shocker.
I remember how to write a circle.
Oh, you remember how to write a circle?
Okay, then draw your circle to the best of your ability. They do not have to look perfect, but they should be round. They should not look like squares in here. I don't want to see that. That's not a circle. Okay, so do your best on drawing your circles.
You look like trash.
My goodness, you guys are really... I'm catching all of this on the recording, by the way, so this will be a fun one to watch back. For future years, this is going to be a really funny video for that class to be listening to. Yeah. Hey, future classes. All right. No 6, 7. Okay. let's finish this last one. We're almost done here. We're going to do the whole thing that we just did, but we're starting from scratch. So first thing, let's rewrite this. Let's get this 1 moved over here. And let's rearrange this. I want to get those X's together and those Y's together. And I'm going to go ahead and put in my blanks too.
No, you're not.
Okay. That's not my fault. Get him out of here.
No kidding.
She lied.
Okay. I've got it rewritten. I've got all my blanks. I've moved that 1 over to the other side. Let's start the completing the square process. So for this first set, what do we need to do? Take half of the 4. What's half of 4? 2. And if you square that, 4. Over here, -6 divided by 2 is what? And -3 squared is 9. Okay. Let's write this out so it looks more like a circle now. So this first set would be rewritten as X, and then what's my number here? Is it
2.
and is it positive or negative?
It's positive.
Positive. Okay. For the second set, what does it say? -3. Y minus 3 squared equals, what's 1 plus 4 plus 9? 14. Okay, we do need to graph it, so what's my center?
-2, +3, the center.
Yes. And the radius?
3.7.
3.1415. Wait, how do I get this?
No, 3.7. The center is the numbers in. Oh, you square root that last number. So the square root of 14 should be about 3.7. Okay. Now let's graph.
One, two, three. Oh my God! How did
There's your circle. That's not too bad. I did all right on that one. Pat myself on the back for that one. All right, questions on that? Great. Okay.